Libra. This season isn't asking for your grace. It's asking for your truth. You've worn harmony like a second skin for years, bridging gaps, mending silences, smiling through internal storms. But what if balance isn't what you need right now? What if you're meant to tip the scales, just enough to free yourself because something deeper is calling? And it won't be satisfied by keeping the peace. Not this time. This August brings two powerful forces into your orbit: the Lion's Gate portal and Mercury Retrograde. Together, they stir the waters and set fire to the sky. This isn't a quiet season. This is a cosmic rebirth in real time. The Lion's Gate opens on August 8th, a date of spiritual significance for centuries. It aligns the sun in Leo with the star Sirius, forming a celestial corridor between our human heart and divine expansion. It's a time of DNA upgrades, inner knowing, intuitive strength. But this year, Mercury retrograde arrives almost in sync, and while the Lion's Gate expands, Mercury turns you inward. It brings the past back into focus. Old loves, old patterns, words left unsaid. So you're not just ascending, you're also confronting. This double influence creates tension. Forward momentum meets backward pull. And for you, Libra, it activates everything you've been trying to hold in place. You may feel stretched, torn between honoring your own needs and not wanting to disappoint the people around you. But clarity doesn't come from overthinking. It comes from choosing. Lion's Gate isn't about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about claiming your timeline with messy emotion, imperfect steps, and radical self-trust. As Mercury retraces its steps, so might you. Not to repeat old stories, but to rewrite them, to speak words you once swallowed, to say no with love, to say yes without apology. This is a chance to reconnect with your past, but from your present power. Not everyone will understand this version of you. The one who sets boundaries, the one who walks away from polite but shallow connections, the one who stops explaining their glow. But this version, she's the one you've been becoming all along. In your love life, you may notice the stirring of what once was. An old flame may reappear, a text, a voice memo, a chance meeting, and it will feel familiar, almost magnetic. But familiarity is not the same as alignment. Ask yourself, do I feel safe or just nostalgic? Does this person reflect who I've become or who I used to be? Sometimes the lesson isn't in the reunion, it's in the restraint. It's in recognizing the pattern before it repeats. Mercury retrograde brings reflection, not necessarily revival. If you're already in a relationship, this season can surface unspoken truths. You may feel a dissonance, not necessarily because something is wrong, but because something needs to evolve. Old agreements may feel tight. Conversations that were avoided may push their way forward. You don't need to fight, but you do need to share what's real. You're allowed to want more emotional presence, more honesty, more shared vision, and you're allowed to admit when something isn't working, even if it looks fine from the outside. It's not ungrateful to desire depth. It's not dramatic to ask for consistency. This is your season to bring your voice to the surface, not to demand, but to declare. In friendships and social circles, the Lion's Gate brings fresh realizations. You may start to see which connections are mutual and which ones are powered mostly by your effort. It's not about cutting people off, but it is about conserving your energy. When you're no longer trying to be everyone's emotional anchor, you start attracting those who can meet you where you are. You've outgrown shallow waters, and your soul knows it. In your career, this season can bring surprising shifts, delays, reroutes, unexpected pauses. Don't panic. Sometimes the universe slows you down to show you something you were too busy to notice. An opportunity may resurface, but this time you see it with new eyes. You've developed discernment. You no longer say yes out of fear. You wait for resonance. And if that means saying no to what once felt like a dream, so be it, because your future doesn't require you to settle. It requires you to trust your evolution. There may be a moment this month where you feel lost, where clarity slips, where all the progress you thought you'd made feels like it's crumbling. But don't confuse disorientation with regression. Sometimes the fog appears right before a breakthrough. Sometimes your inner compass recalibrates right before a leap. When this happens, don't rush to fix it. Don't rush to make a decision just to feel productive. Pause. Let yourself sit in the uncertainty, because underneath that uncertainty, a truer version of you is emerging. One that doesn't need approval to move forward. One that doesn't need permission to feel. One that doesn't need to be perfect to be powerful. Let's talk about self-worth. Libra, you've mastered likability. You can walk into any room and make people feel seen, heard, comforted. But how often do you offer that same presence to yourself? This season invites you to turn your gift inward, to be gentle with your process, to forgive the younger version of you who stayed too long, who overgave, who chose peace over truth. That wasn't weakness, that was survival. But now you don't need to survive. You're here to thrive, to love without losing yourself, to give without depletion, to shine without shrinking. You are not too much. You are just finally taking up the space that was always yours. It may feel strange at first to say what you mean, to choose solitude over performance, to be honest when you're usually polite. But this strangeness, it's a sign you're on the right track. Growth rarely feels graceful, but it always leads to freedom. Now let's ground this energy with some reflection. What does balance mean to you now? Not the version you learned from others, but the version that honors both your head and your heart. What does love look like when you're not managing other people's emotions? What does success look like when it's not based on performance? These are not quick answers. They're ongoing conversations between you and your highest self. Let them unfold without rushing. You may want to write them down, not to analyze, but to remember. This month, your past may knock, but you are not obligated to answer the door. You can observe the memory, feel the ache, and still choose yourself again and again and again. You are not a guest in your own story. You are the author. And the chapter ahead, it begins with your full presence. Speak with honesty, walk with grace, and love, first and foremost, from a place of wholeness. Libra, you are not here to maintain everyone else's peace. You are here to create your own, and from that grounded center, you will know exactly what and who belongs. Now exhale. The new season begins with you.